Hi, everyone, and welcome to Divine Resolution Tarot. For those of you who are new, I am Chanel. For those of you who are returning, thank you for giving me the opportunity to read for you again. This reading is intended for the sign of Cancer. If you're watching for Cancer, reverse the roles, and it should resonate whenever you find it. So, first card out of the deck, Cancer, you got Justice. I'm just reading whatever comes out, and then I'll go back and look at some love messages for you as well. Bottom of your deck is the Fool. Wow, coming after the Tower. It looks like you tried to go back to something that was just not meant for you. Now, this could be a relationship, right? It could be an old way of thinking. There's something here that I feel like you had your heart broken and you were pretty sad about it not working out. Then you got into a space where you told yourself, like, I'm never going to put myself in this situation again, right? But it feels like you're having a really hard time moving away from kind of this ground zero situation, right? This could be with work, this could be with family or a lover, it does not matter. But I feel like you're coming to the realization that it's time to do something new, okay? There's some fears here around what that will look like. I'm seeing that for sure. And there's some issues around the direction that you're going to take moving forward because it feels like you're kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place based on what you've recently experienced. So it's like you keep going back to this ending in your mind, but then moving forward feels like maybe it makes it more final. Or if you move forward, it's the realization that this is just never going to come into fruition, right? I feel like more so than you're contemplating these things, you're very, very focused on getting what you want. Unfortunately, it may not come from whatever this energy is that I'm seeing that it feels like was very disappointing to you, right? And so in between that rock and that hard place of like, do I keep looking at this ending? Do I move on and then face like what could be a potential disaster by starting something new? There's also this huge urge to be paid back for all of the work that you've put into this situation, right? Now, for some of you, you want your recompense to come from whatever this kind of disastrous energy was. For others of you, you're just more interested in getting reimbursed regardless of where that comes from. The obstacle here is the hanging man. So here's the thing that I'm seeing. It's like you want what you want so badly that you're not in a space where you're able to like release it to the universe and allow the universe to pay you back how it sees fit. And what I'll caution you against, like why you probably shouldn't be doing that, is because in your mind, say you put all this time and energy into this situation and you're like, okay, you owe me whatever. The universe may see it completely different, right? So if you're trying to find, like, for example, that really great job to pay you back for the energy that you spent in your past situation, the universe might be trying to give you like a winning lottery ticket instead because it feels like you are owed so much more or you deserve so much more, right? But because you have a vision about the way that it's supposed to go, the issue is that you're actually blocking the flow of energy so that the universe can bring to you what it feels like you deserve because you're so like tunnel vision about how it has to be, right? Or what it needs to look like. So I feel like for you, you would do very well to perhaps pull back a little bit because it feels like you're fighting against your blessings almost based on your ideas about how a situation should look. Let's take a look. All right. Okay. So it feels like this is having to do with stability, right? For you, I feel like if you really look at your life, Cancers, you've probably never felt as safe as you could possibly feel or as wealthy as you could possibly feel or loved. But because what you know is all you know, there is kind of this knee-jerk reaction to like go back to the best of what you've had. But in reality, the best is not even that great, okay? But because you're not elevating yourself or you're not shifting your perspective, it's like you want to run back to where it feels safe almost, or to the best times in your life, whether you're trying to recreate that with someone new or this past energy, whether it's a person or work or whatever, it doesn't matter. And I feel like spirit wants you to just kind of release your ties to what the best has looked like already and start expanding your vision. Like if you could have anything in the world and you knew that it would work, would you still think about that old job that screwed you over? Would you still think about that crappy partner that wouldn't commit? Right? Probably not. If you knew without a shadow of a doubt that you could manifest something far better than anything you've ever seen, you wouldn't even be thinking about those things, right? You would be creating something new and beautiful for yourself that would be amazing. And what you've seen in the past would pale in comparison to the vision that you're now holding for yourself, right? So if you could try to get into that mindset, because what I'm seeing with this justice card, it's like you're getting a clean slate, right? Things aren't going the way that you hope, but it's not because you don't deserve it. It's because the slate needs to be like wiped completely clean so that something new can be built in its place. You get what I'm saying? So if you keep trying to resist this by rebuilding things that fell apart, or if you keep trying to resist letting everything go by like creating the same situations but with new people, right? Rather than just trusting the process, you're going to keep recreating kind of these same themes that it feels like you're trying so hard to fight against, okay? Now, what I will say about your justice card is that's actually a really, really good thing, because this is all of your hard work and all of your efforts being recognized by the universe, trying to bring you in something that's in alignment with what you deserve and all of the work that you've been putting into everything around you that it feels like hasn't been panning out, right? Your past energy that is affecting you right now is the world in the reverse. So that talks a lot about what I was saying, kind of replaying lessons, having to redo things over and over because you want to get it right. But the reality of it is that it was a lesson, and maybe you don't need to keep going back and trying to like switch this part or switch that part and see if you can find the missing piece or the formula, right? You're never going to miss out on something that is got your name on it, what is for you by divine right, right? But it feels like you keep kind of trying to breathe life back into these outdated ideas or old people. And it's just not where you need to be, right? Rather than looking at it like, oh, okay, this is what I need to do different, look at it like that was a lesson and it's over. It's done. I'm ready for something new, right? Because you literally have the Fool at the bottom of your deck. And that's followed by the Tower, which is showing me that if you don't make this decision to start like allowing the universe to take control, something is going to happen that's going to force that. And what it kind of looks like is that if this is a relationship situation, the person that you're dealing with may go do something else simply because you're trying to force your happiness to come from that situation when in reality your happiness is somewhere else, okay? I'll read for some love messages in a minute, but that's kind of what I'm seeing here. As far as you, I feel like you're very, very focused on the future, right? You're very focused on how can you create what you want with what you have. But there's things that you don't have that are going to be instrumental to the creation of this new life, right? So if you can take a look at where you've been and see that that's a lesson, use those as tools, but not necessarily as like a guideline for what you need to do different. You get what I'm saying? Like if you're with a crappy partner, don't look at it like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm more vigilant about sussing out the red flags, but I still need to keep looking, right? You're very focused on like, when is it coming? Where is it? But what I'm seeing is that that's not exactly what you need to be focusing on, because the universe is actually using that to trigger you, okay? Now, I'm saying that and it sounds weird, but it's because there's something in your environment that's coming for you that's really, really good. But you need to work on some of this, like, I don't know if there's like doubt or fear, or if this is just like impatience or like the need to control like the details of the situation that you should be leaving up to source. But it's almost like if you keep putting all of this energy into trying to control the narrative, you're going to get so burnt out, right? That when what you want finally arrives, you may not even have the energy to go after it because you've spent all of your time and your attention trying to control all these things that literally were not yours to control, right? The universe is not something that you can just like bend at your will. And I know that's weird because people talk about manifestation and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, like there's parts of situations that are for you to manifest and to control. And then there's parts of situations that you need to learn to leave up to source or let Jesus take the wheel, right? And so I feel like right now, your relationship with source is being tested. It looks like there could be someone in your life that's very interested in you, but it's almost like because that might not be exactly the person that you think you're supposed to be with, you're not paying attention to them, or you won't be paying attention to them when they arrive, right? And I feel like if you hold up what the universe is trying to bring into you, the person that you're watching for as far as love goes may end up somewhere else. And then you could miss out on your blessing or your next big thing, right? Because you're trying so hard to recapture this energy that you've been dealing with, right? When I'm looking into your advice, you got the 8 of Wands. So this is talking about moving forward, right? Not holding up your life, waiting for people to see your value, waiting for people to deliver on promises, right? Because for those of you that are in a love situation and you're focused on love, it does look like somebody could be trying to make things up to you when they've screwed up in the past. But I also feel like this situation, it might not be forever, but for the time being, it looks as though that's not where you're supposed to be, right? It looks like where you're supposed to be is coming in for you, and it's actually everything that you've been desiring. But if you're willing to settle for less, or you're willing to go back and try to fix things with people that have already shown you that they're not really worth your time, you're going to miss out, right? This is talking about taking a bit of a risk with the 8 of Wands as your advice, because you might be moving in a way that you don't normally move, right? You might end up having to put yourself in situations that feel a little bit uncomfortable, which just kind of goes into talking about something new, right? For some of you, this could be in relation to love, and this is an old person who suddenly really wants a relationship. And that's all you ever wanted. But for some reason, you're like holding up the show and being like, oh, I don't know, right? I feel like what you want is here, but you're waiting for something else, okay? And I think that, again, goes back to having to kind of control the narrative of how a thing looks or how a thing moves. And I think that you should ask yourself, what's more important, right? We kind of go back to that rock in the hard place that I saw in the beginning of your reading, where it's like you want to be repaid. You're not sure if you want to invest in something new. More than anything, you just want to feel like you didn't get the short end of the stick. You actually have the opportunity to have that feeling of not getting the short end of the stick, right? But it may not look the way that you think it's going to look. For some of you, this talks about somebody wanting to be in your life, but you're like holding a big grudge because they're not moving the way that you think they should, right? For others of you, this can talk about someone coming into your life and not repaying you the way that you feel like they should repay you. So you keep waiting instead of taking it at face value and being like, okay, there's something better for me. So I feel like there's kind of two groups of cancers here. There's a relationship on the table. If you have not experienced this yet, just give it a little bit of time because it looks like it's coming. I feel like somebody could be testing you to see where you're at, how invested you are. So maybe be aware of that, right? Are you able to just kind of brush off the behavior, or is it something that you allow somebody to suck you into? because there's a lot about triggers here. So triggers as far as like giving your heart away, triggers as far as committing and being vulnerable, triggers as far as somebody's behavior and you feeling like you have to make sacrifices and maybe having a knee-jerk reaction to that, like you don't get to put me in a box. There's a lot going on with you guys, right? I feel like everything that you want really is coming, but the advice is that you may have to allow the universe to control the pace because there's something here that it feels like you're kind of dragging your feet on. And it's because you're waiting for something else. Okay. So let me just clarify these and then I'm going to pull you some oracle cards. Yeah, it looks like there's a possibility of somebody wanting to be in your life. You have options here. You know, you could have two different people that are very interested in you, but I feel like you're trying really hard to like weigh who's going to do what. And I think the universe is wanting you to just make a choice. Okay. Yeah, 10 of Pentacles upright, 10 of Pentacles reversed. So it's going to turn out that one person ends up getting picked, the other one doesn't. And I don't want you to be the person that doesn't get picked because it kind of looks like right now it's one of those things where you have to really decide, like, what do I want? And then go after it. You're going to have to make a move because your obstacle is literally the hanging man. So if you're trying to control the narrative rather than seizing the opportunity, you could miss out, right? Yeah. Okay. So it looks to me as though you've been doing a lot of thinking, you've been doing some healing because I did see that 3 of Swords and the Tower. I feel like as far as this situation for your past person, in a lot of ways, you looked at it like you dodged a bullet. As far as like this person maybe not changing, not doing anything different. So if that's how you feel, I guess I would ask you to ask yourself, what's the purpose of waiting if you know you felt like that when that person was in your life, right? Like if you were apart and you started thinking about it and you're like, well, they had a lot of problems. Now that they're around, why would you shift so quickly, right? Into like, okay, well, I'm going to just hold my life up. I'm going to wait for this person. You get what I'm saying? I think that intuitively you probably feel that the universe is conspiring to pay you back. And that could be part of why you're like waiting, but it may not come the way that you think it's going to come, right? So if you're holding everything up because you expect it to look a specific way, it feels like you're going to miss out. See, that's exactly it. You're waiting. Some of you are waiting on your ex to like see your value. Some of you are waiting for someone to disappoint you, right? If somebody's showing up and this is a new person, because there's a couple of you. There's some of you that want your ex, there's some of you that want new, there's some of you that are completely divided, right? But I think across the board, all of you kind of have this underlining idea of like, everything's going to disappoint me, so I have to take my time. Right? I have to just kind of wait for the bottom to fall out. And if I don't have both feet in, then I can't get hurt as badly. Right? But it feels like there's somebody in your environment who wants to show you something different because they see that you've gotten the short end of the stick. Right? Whether that's someone old or new, there's definitely the possibility of a relationship. But what I'm seeing is if you're not seizing that relationship, or for some of you, if you're not interested in love and this is about work, if you're not seizing that opportunity, it will pass, right? And you'll see other people have what you want, maybe even with that person, if this is, you know, you're here for love, and then you'll be very disappointed, right? Let's take a look at your strength. Okay, so for some of you, you're so focused on like not being wrong or not giving in, right? Like you want to stand your ground, that you're not allowing your emotions to like show, but that's also keeping you in a way of like not letting yourself be happy, right? I think the universe wants you to be honest about what you really want, right? For a small group of you, like I said, you may end up seeing the person that you really want to be with someone else. And then you're like waiting for them to come back. But when you had an opportunity, right, if they didn't move the way you thought they should move, you didn't take it. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, who do you blame for that, right? Not that like blame is where you want to live, but it's like, if you're so busy trying to control the details that if something doesn't look exactly the way you think it should, you don't allow your heart to show through. You don't allow your feelings any kind of like leverage in your decision making. How disappointed would you be if what you want got scooped up by somebody who was willing to take the risk, or who wasn't in a space of like, I have to have things this way, right? So it's kind of like, what's coming towards you, you're going to have to take it how it is. And I think the best way to figure out if that's what you really want is to check in with your heart, right? Rather than all of the like parameters of how a thing should be, or what other people will think, or what people would say. I think that your heart and your intuition is going to be what guides you, because it doesn't seem like you can really trust your eyes or your mind with this, right? It's weird. For some of you, this is just like a super twin flame thing, and you guys are always back and forth. And now you have an opportunity to come into union with this person, but your mind is saying one thing and your heart is saying something else, right? Let's clarify your 8 of Wands. Yes, 2 of Cups. All right, so you're not going to be able to please everybody. There's going to be one person, especially, I feel like, is going to be very disappointed when you do end up with someone else, because you're what they want, but I think that's not where your heart is, you know? And so for those of you who follow your heart, you may have to be very transparent if you've been dating a lot of people and let them know so you're not leading anyone on. But it's like, as soon as you make your decision about what you want to do or what that looks like, the universe is going to support you. But you have to be willing to let go of controlling every single detail of how it's going to look, right? Like, for example, if you decide you want to be wealthy, instead of saying, I'm going to be wealthy, I'm going to be wealthy in 5 years because I own a company and because I have this many employees and sell this many products, just affirm to the universe, like, I want to be wealthy. And then let the universe figure out what that looks like, because you could have this 5-year plan. But like I said, the universe could have a lottery ticket for you, and then tomorrow you're wealthy and you just skipped all that time, right? It's a risk to release control over situations, especially if you've been hurt in the past. So I can 100% see why you're like scrutinizing every inch of every situation that you're finding yourself in. But that also shows like a lack of faith in the universe. And it shows some of the triggers that you would do really well to take some time to work on, right? Because it's like, how do you build a relationship with someone who is not willing to release control? That's a really difficult situation to be in, when somebody needs to control every aspect of the narrative. You get what I'm saying? So if you're wanting to co-create with a physical person or a job or any other partnership you could have, you're going to have to learn how to co-create, right? You're going to have to learn how to share the creation of what something looks like. Your first lesson in that, I feel like, is to co-create with source, right? To allow source to fill in the gaps and to not define what everything should look like, right? And if it's not specifically on your terms, it's not for you. You get what I'm saying? Because for all you know, it could be exactly what you never knew you needed, right? And I'm not trying to come down on you guys. I have Cancer in my chart, and I have a tendency, like, I can see where this could be a message for me too. So please don't think I'm just like, oh, you controlling, nagging people, right? All right, so your love card says reflection. Give each other some space at the moment. Trust and have faith that all will work out for the best. Bottom of your deck says, look deep within your heart and you will feel my love. My love for you is as deep as the ocean. So Cancer, somebody really, really loves you. But I also think that this could be some like really big runner chaser energy. As soon as you start to like get around this person, it could be cool for a minute, but then it's like, it's not going the way I want, and this person owes me so much and they need to apologize, right? And then that person feels like repelled and they go where it's not as like uncomfortable for them. You get what I'm saying? So it feels like this person is kind of a reflection of you in a lot of ways, right? Or at least they reflect the energy that you're putting out, but it's in an opposite reaction. You get what I'm saying? All right, let's get a finance oracle for those of you who are here for money. Wow, take a divinely guided chance. And that's what I was saying. You're going to have to take a bit of a risk, but it really is for the best. You got all positive change and successful ventures involve a degree of risk, and you are ready to follow your divine guidance to new territories. As you leave behind that which is comfortable and familiar but no longer appropriate for you, you make room for new and more meaningful opportunities. So I guess if you want like a very simplified version of this, go with what you find terrifying. Go with what triggers you, what makes you afraid, right? Rather than waiting for like situations to become what you want them to be. The opportunities that are coming towards you now, if they make you like, oh, I don't know, I feel uncomfortable, those are the opportunities you're supposed to be taking. And I know that that sounds like so scary, right? But it's like you have to have faith, because if you think about it, the old way of doing things, the way you've been doing things, is not working. It hasn't gotten you where you want to be, right? Oh, wow, look at that. Wisdom, let go of the need to control, trust in the wisdom of a divine plan. All right, you got love. Choose love. Let love become a powerful force for change. And you got independence. Decide for yourself, exercise your right to choose. So here's the thing, like when you have kind of that knee-jerk reaction to shut down because something doesn't look how you think it should, you're not powerful and you're not making decisions. You're letting your fear and your fear of being vulnerable or your fear of having something not work out direct the show, right? You're letting your anxiety make the choice for you by having like all these parameters of like, nope, this isn't, it doesn't look how it should, so I'm just not doing this, right? That's not you being independent. If anything, that's you being more codependent upon your fears to make decisions for you. You get what I'm saying? So it's time to get kind of out of your head. Maybe you have Aries in your chart, you're dealing with Aries, because I saw them doing a lot of thinking and kind of some self-sabotage. It's time for you to really get in touch with what you want, right? If you want somebody that in the past, maybe things haven't been great, but it seems like they're kind of trying, rather than hold them to your yardstick of like, well, it should have been here by now, right? Maybe that's not how it's going to work. Rather than letting your ego decide with strength in the reverse, rather than allowing your guidelines, right, based on what says who, right? Says who? Society, your mom, your dad. Where are these ideas coming from? You get what I'm saying? Love isn't always going to be linear. It's not going to look, exactly the way you want. The same way success is not linear. I grew up thinking you go to college, you get married, you buy a house, you get the dog, you get the kid. My life was not linear whatsoever. But does that make me any less successful because my timeline doesn't follow the status quo? Well, no, but for a long time, I struggled with that. You get what I'm saying? And that was a creation that I decided for myself. I allowed to rule my life rather than making a choice of like success doesn't look the same. You get what I'm saying? So Cancers, I feel like some of you, and I'm not trying to upset you guys by any means, but you could be making things harder than they need to actually be by following kind of all of these like beliefs about how a thing should look, okay? Let me get you an oracle card and then we're going to wrap up your reading. Oh, wow, we've got quite a few. All right, protection. You, your loved ones, and your possessions are safe and protected by heaven. Explore your options. It's time to look at other possibilities. It's a good time to make changes and have faith. Your prayers are manifesting. Remain positive and follow your guidance. All right, Cancer, this has been your reading. I hope it was able to provide you with some clarity, and I will speak to all of you again soon. Bye.